You know, when they initially announced that Gladiator was going to be getting a sequel, I thought to myself, why? After seeing it, I still kind of feel the same way. Welcome to Bite Size Bunny, my name's Tony, and today we are going to be talking about Gladiator 2. In Gladiator 2, we follow Lucius 16 years after the events of the first Gladiator. Lucius has left Rome and started an entirely new life under a new name, but when Roman soldiers invade his new home, they end up killing his wife and taking Lucius captive, returning him back to Rome. Now Lucius is thrusted into this quest of revenge as he is forced to enter the Colosseum as a gladiator. If he is able to survive long enough, he will have the opportunity to take revenge against the man that took his wife from him. This film borrows more than a few things from the original Gladiator, so at times it does feel like we are just rehashing things in a way that's nowhere near as good as they were in the first film. For the most part, it's done competently. It's just hard to not find yourself thinking, man, I could be watching a better version of this story right now. The new elements they introduce here does have a lot of potential. Some of it is completely wasted, but there is some solid stuff too. Paul Mescal had a ridiculously tough act to follow with Russell Crowe's iconic performance from Gladiator. Yet he pulls it off. They do a really good job at focusing on who Lucius is. It never felt like I was watching Diet Dr. Maximus, which could have easily happened here with this character having continuous story beats showing how much he looked up to Maximus and some of the character traits he developed that were similar to Maximus's. Paul Mescal does a great job here. Denzel Washington, on the other hand, is the reason to watch Gladiator 2. I'm honestly really disappointed this movie didn't focus entirely on his character. It could have offered the chance to do something entirely unique and different here, while also offering the opportunity to provide some world building and a different perspective on this world. Instead, what we got kind of just feels like a trip down memory lane in Gladiator 2 Electric Boogaloo. Denzel Washington plays this schemy Littlefinger type of character where he's pulling the strings on everything and manipulating people against each other in hopes of obtaining as much power as possible in Rome. He's a real scene stealer and such a breath of fresh air in a film that otherwise feels kind of repetitive. Pedro Pascal is as wonderful as always here. He plays this general that is conflicted with the direction Rome is heading under the leadership of its twisted emperors, which is another interesting idea that I feel like they could have leaned way more into and it probably would have benefited, especially with how fascinating the emperors are. In this story, there's two emperors that are these insane evil twin brothers played by Joseph Quinn and Fred Heschinger. I really wish we got to spend more time exploring these characters. They're very underutilized, though I will say the time we do get to spend with Joseph and Fred, they play really well off of each other. Unfortunately, despite introducing some new interesting characters and elements to the story, this movie for the most part feels like a pretty paint-by-numbers legacy sequel. The main story here leaves you feeling like you've already seen it before and have seen it done better. As far as the action goes, it is enjoyable, but be prepared to turn your brain off at times because it does find itself starting to teeter into Stupidville. Like one instance where they flood the Colosseum to recreate a historical event through naval combat, which was fine at first until they introduced CGI sharks to swim around and eat anyone that fell off the boats. Doesn't help that the CGI in this sequence stuck out like a sore thumb. Overall, there is some entertainment to be had with Gladiator 2. It's got great performances, some fun and occasionally dumb action, but the writing fell flat for me. The story feels like a retread of its predecessor, but when they do introduce new concepts and interesting ideas, they end up feeling half-baked more often than not. I don't know if I would go out of my way to watch this one again, but if it happened to be already playing on a TV, I would probably sit down and watch part of it. I'm going to be giving Gladiator 2 a 6.5 out of 10. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed this review. Like, subscribe, and all that YouTube stuff. And what's your favorite historical fiction movie? I would love to know.